everyone, and welcome to thorough newspaper analysis brought to you by LawSikho. Let's see what articles are important today from the Indian Express and the Hindu, dated July 30th, 2020. There are a lot of articles today that are very important and they also very interesting in a way. So the first article is from the Hindu, which is an editorial. The title is A Quest for Order Amid Cyber Insecurity. Basically, it says that in the times of COVID-19 pandemic, when the world has distanced socially, it is the internet that has actually brought people and it has still kept them together. But in such a scenario, there have been rampant cases of cyber insecurity that have come at the surface. And that is why, how can this be dealt with, and what is the problem that can be caused through cyber insecurity has been discussed in this issue. Then the second article is titled as Fewer Species, More Disease. It is again from the Hindu and talks about various zoonotic diseases and as to how anthropogenic and human interference in the biodiversity and the loss of biodiversity has caused such pandemics to occur in the world. Third, 4-year UG courses in MPhil out in new education policy. Basically, we now have the new education policy in which we have some changes, and that this is a very small article, a crisp news article from the Hindu, page number 1, and a similar article is from page number 1 of the Indian Express as well, which talks about door open for foreign universities, 4-year UG with exit option, flexible masters. So we'll know and get to know that what actually are the new changes that have been brought in the new education policy. And finally, we have the news in flash section, which is LawSikho's initiative to give you the crisp news points that are important from our prelims exam point of view. But then before we deep delve into today's discussion, let's see that what all courses we have for you at LawSikho platform. Here we are promoting and also trying to tell you the importance of the lot of the courses, which is the Judiciary Test Prep course. It gives you an enhanced and very appropriate and to say an exhaustive preparation strategy for your judiciary exam. You can right now go and visit the page with the link to which has been given in the description box, and you can download for yourself this free study material which has been properly and specifically drafted and created for all the judiciary aspirants. Then we have various other courses like the CLAT and or for the All India Bar exam. But then again, we have at the focus the test prep course for judiciary preparation. With this, let's see that what is the multiple choice question for today, which will be related in some or the other way to the discussion that we do for the day. So the question for the day is, what is common among diseases like Ebola virus, SARS, which is severe acute respiratory syndrome, Nipah virus, and COVID-19? First, they are all originated from China. Second, they are all caused by bats. Third, they are caused by pangolins. Or fourth, they are all zoonotic diseases. Then we have the descriptive question for the day. It reads like, along with the expansion of reliance on public data, state should also focus on enhancing cyber security. Discuss in detail as to why is it necessary and also the steps that can be taken in this direction. The answer to this question must be given within a word limit of 250 to 300 words. Thus, it is very much possible and convenient to write down your answer in the comment section below. And we really encourage, because answer writing is a very important practice when it comes to judiciary exam. Thus, we really encourage all the aspirants to write down their answers, and then we at LawSikho would definitely make an endeavor to review your answers. With this, let's start the first discussion, which is about the global cybersecurity and India. Let's see that why actually this topic is in news again. So the incidents of cyber insecurity of individuals, organizations, and states have grown. Basically, what has happened is that in the times of pandemic of this COVID-19, where, as we also discussed, we are trying to keep social distance amongst the people. So it has become really difficult for the people to actually communicate with each other face to face. And that is why in such a scenario, it is the internet that has come to a very handy and has really helped us to communicate and deal and do various kinds of transactions. But in the similar time, the cases that are related to the cyber insecurity or any kinds of cyber threats have also increased rampantly. And thus, moreover, an alleged role of states in the incidents have also been reported, because it is not like that only the individuals are being blamed for causing any kind of cyber insecurity, but instances where one nation is blaming another one for causing any kind of insecurity to its cyberspace have also come up. For example, China has been accused by US as well as Russia, and it has been accused by US, as it has claimed that the Huawei, which is a 5G company of China, it is actually drawing out intelligence data from US, and also it is intervening and trying to take away the data regarding the development of COVID vaccine. Then Russia also has accused UK of hacking healthcare institutions. Russia has been accused by the United Kingdom of hacking healthcare institutions, because we know that Oxford, which is a company, it is a drug company, very famous drug company of in Oxford. It is the AstraZeneca. So that company is in US, is trying to develop the drug which is till date considered to be the most potential vaccine for the COVID-19 treatment. But then UK has blamed that Russia is trying to intrude into its cyberspace, and it is trying to steal this very data regarding this vaccine development. And also, we must not forget that very recently, India also accused various Chinese apps that they were trying to hamper the national sovereignty and security of our country, and thus 59 Chinese apps were recently banned by the Indian government. So in such cases, it can be seen that not only the individuals, but also various other nation states are also being blamed by another ones in order with regards to cyber insecurity. Now let's try to understand that what are the issues involved in this. Firstly, non-existence of cyber norm. Now, basically, we need to understand as to how and why is this being possible in today's time as well, and what are the drawbacks or loopholes that still exist in the system. Firstly, non-existence of cyber norm. Internet is under state control, and different states have different approaches. Basically, we do not have any kind of international norm that would regulate the usage of internet and the cyberspace, because internet actually comes under the control of the state, and then state again tries to control the internet, keeping in mind its own ideas and its own ways of working. And in such a scenario, it becomes really difficult to promulgate a proper a uniform method or uniform regulation for the cyber security. For example, recently the national security law, which was passed by China, has put a huge ban and curb on the various kinds of applications and internet usages in Hong Kong. Now, this definitely shows that the Chinese government, for that matter, has absolute control over the usage of internet in its own territory. And similarly, various other tech giants like YouTube, Google, etc., they have no permission to work within the country of China. That is why here we can understand that various states as in various nations, and then also different authorities in that nations have different ways of working and regulating the internet, which actually results in this malfunctioning, or this ununiform system of internet space. Then, cyberspace has multiple stakeholders, including non-state actors as well. And lately, it has been seen that various non-state actors, basically non-state actors are like the NGOs or various terrorist groups for that matter, and various other entities that actually are not the part of a nation per se in the governance directly, but they have huge impact on the governance and the entire fabric of that nation. And in today's time, it has been seen that these non-state actors have played a significant role in shaping the entire structure of the cyberspace of a nation, and thus there are multiple stakeholders, and it is important that we draft a regulation in such a manner that the aspirations, or all of these actors, non-state actors, they're all accommodated properly, and like such non-state actors like terrorist groups, etc., they can be curbed down efficiently. Then, no international organization like WHO for health, because a very nice example over here is given, like the World Health Organization, which is probably the largest body. It is definitely the largest body that controls various kinds of health agencies and also health development, and in what way health agencies and health related issues can be tackled. Now, in such a scenario, WHO works like an umbrella institution under which various of the institutions are working, and thus there is at least an institution like WHO that works in the sector of health. But unlike this, in this matter of cyberspace or internet usage, we do not really have any kind of international organization that could be able to form uniform laws all around the globe. Next, let's understand about inconclusive discussions in international level, because many a times it is not the case that no any sort of discussions related to cyberspace or cybersecurity or insecurity have not been discussed before. Yes, they have been, but they have been more or less quite inconclusive. That is, no concrete decision has ever come out through these international discussions. Like, for example, in 1998, the issue of ICTs was added to United Nations agenda by Russia. So basically, internet communication technological things. So ICTs, they are basically internet communication and technology. It was added to the UN agenda by Russia, but since then, these are the group governmental to say meetings, or to say and one open-end working group, that is OEWG, have functioned. But till date also, it has not been very productive, and the aim actually it sought to receive has still not been received. And then issues like terrorism and crime have not been focused upon, which actually are the biggest, to say the biggest issue when we talk about cyberspace and the terrorism that is prevailing in cyberspace. For example, recently we have seen the problems of darknet, the very issue of darknet, wherein a trade of illegal things like drugs, etc., and various other transactions are done very easily over darknet. And who is doing that is never been able to, the government is not able to catch that particular entity, person, or a company. And then in such a scenario, it is important that terrorism and crime are also focused primarily in this situation. And whereas issues like internet governance, development, espionage, and digital privatization are kept out, which are again very important to say foldings of the internet usage or the cyberspace, which are the governance through internet, development through internet, espionage, like many kind of spy activities are also carried through internet, and then digital privatization are also kept out of the purview, which should not be the case. Let's see then that what is the current status of cybersecurity in India, because now we need to understand, because we are focusing so much on being digital India, and then we are trying to in some or the other way do away with the digital divide that is existent in the country. But then we need to understand also that what actually is the to say the status, or to what is the current health of the cyber security in India, and how far have we able to give to our citizens this security in the cyber space. First, growth of technology is way ahead of the development of associated norms and institutions. So basically, technology has been growing comparatively at a quite faster pace as compared to the institutions that deal with cybersecurity. But then again, for example, if we are dealing with making new banks for a people, wherein they can easily deposit their money, and they would believe that their money and their investments are kept safe in the banks. But on the other side, we are not focusing on making these banks more safe and beneficial for the people, then definitely the very purpose of having banks would be defeated. Similarly, when on the one side we are making such huge endeavors to make our public and population grow in terms of technological usage, we should also enhance the institutions that work on keeping this technology secure by means of cyber security. And that is why current scenarios and observations reveal that in technology we are growing faster as compared to the institutions of cybersecurity, and wherein if we really want to achieve real technological and communicational development, then in such case both technology as well as cybersecurity should go hand in hand, and they should develop at an equal pace. Secondly, we has an active nodal agency in the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, which is the CERT in MIT, which is the currently we have the active nodal agency in the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team. So that actually is a good news to see that we have a nodal agency which actually works in this direction. Secondly, role in international discussions. So let's see that what role are we playing in the various international discussions. So we had representations in the 6 GGEs, which were the group governmental meetings, and the OEWG we just discussed in the previous slide, and supports SCO's call for a code of conduct and has joined the Christchurch call. So basically there are various kinds of international conventions and to say international meetings that are held from time to time, and India has been though an active member for that. And like we also were a part of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, wherein also topics related to cybersecurity are being discussed. Then finally, let's see that what can be done to further improve Indian cyberspace. First, better arrangements and more intense partnerships with more safeguards, definitely, because healthy partnerships can definitely make the entire cyberspace more secure and easier to use. Secondly, adoption of a data protection legislation, because yes, we have currently we had the personal data protection bill, which is still not formulated concretely till date. But then again, we should have various other data protection legislations which work in this direction. Then, acceding to an international convention like the Budapest Convention or Convention on the Cybercrime of the Council of Europe. So we should we should move further towards these conventions. Then encourage private sector for more industry focused process, because definitely private sector has a very important role, and we know that the implementability of private sector things are easier and also more efficient as compared to other institutions. And in such a scenario, private sector should also be incentivized more to get into this industry. And fifth, engagement in multi-stakeholder orientations such as the Paris Call. So where we should also get engaged into such multi-stakeholder orientations. With this, we're done with the first discussion, and let's jump to the second one, which talks about the relationship between biodiversity and pandemics like COVID-19. Across countries, lockdown has provided opportunities for wild animals to roam around spaces they otherwise don't venture into. Basically, various news every now and then they come up that some kind of animal species, for example, some tiger or some rhinoceros, some elephant, any species was seen roaming on some national highway, which definitely in the general days is not the case because of the high traffic and population that exists in those areas. But now, due to the lockdown, since the entire human activity has come down to great levels, so in such a scenario, it has been seen that the biodiversity or the animal species, various animal species, are now moving more freely, which brings us to this idea that in the general situation, when the human population is at its general work or working process, what would be the situation of this biodiversity? And lately, all of us know that this has been a case that the biodiversity levels or the biodiversity enrichment has decreased to foldsome. Then pandemic provides an opportunity to explore the consequences of humans' unscientific actions on nature and prepare for behavioral change. Thus, it is important for us to focus that what relation does the lack or lessening of biodiversity has with the increasing of such pandemics like COVID-19. Let's see that how loss of biodiversity now results in new diseases. Basically, forests and habitats are destroyed by humans and various anthropogenic activities. Like, for example, we go for a dam building wherein a lot and huge of jungles are cleared, and we also go for various national highways are built across the forest, etc. And various other activities like mining and all other activities, they tend to encroach the biodiversity, and we through our anthropogenic activities tend to enter into the into the habitats of these plants and animals more specifically, because they are more into giving new diseases to the humankind. This causes loss of several species, and finally what we have in hand is this human-induced environmental changes results in new conditions that host the vectors and or pathogens. Basically, what happens is that the human to animal or animal to human interaction increases a lot, due to which these zoonotic diseases, basically zoonotic diseases are those which are caused by some or the other animal. For example, COVID-19, though the very source of COVID-19, this specifically has not been able to be revealed. Some say that it has been caused directly through bats, again like the SARS was, and then some say it has been caused from bats, then to pangolins, and then to humans. But still, the specific source is not clear. But yes, it is clear that it came up through the fish market or some kind of wildlife market which was there in the Wuhan city of the country of China. And thus it can be said that it was also a zoonotic disease, and this can be said it is possible due to over interaction between human and animal, and thus these zoonotic diseases find a way to come into the human settlements. So diseases like Ebola, bird flu, MERS, SARS, Nipah, etc. are all examples of zoonotic diseases. Then, according to the IPBES Global Assessment and Ecosystem Services confirms that spread of viruses from animals to humans as the delicate balance of nature is disturbed, and thus due to our anthropogenic and or human activities, this delicate balance of nature is disturbed, and that is why these kinds of zoonotic diseases enter the human settlements. Then illegal trade of wildlife, because we know that many illegal trades and many exotic animals are traded illegally, and pangolins for that matter, that could be a source of COVID-19 also are one of the most trafficked and illegally traded animal species of the world. So one of the largest and lucrative form of organized crimes is the illegal trade of wildlife, and it has also increased during lockdown, then resulting in deliberate hunting of certain species and creation of monocultures, and that is why it is possible for many species to actually transfer such diseases or vectors or pathogens to the humans. Then threat to India's unique wildlife heritage, but obvious because there are many species which are very vulnerable and also endangered in terms of their population, and overhunting and poaching or encroachment of these species would definitely hamper the wildlife heritage of our country and world at large. So India shelters a number of vulnerable and threatened species like the pangolins, Asiatic black bears and rhinos, etc. Also, if you can answer that, where is the very special species of one-horned rhino found in India? So you could write down that also in the comment section below. Then what can be done to prevent the destruction of diversity? Because that is very important for us to understand. So nations should work towards realizing the 2050 vision of our biodiversity, the goal of which is living in harmony with nature, because it's very important for us. Then follow One Health approach, which is considering health of people, animals and environment, because human actually is considered to be one of the most selfish creatures that we could find on earth, because what we tend to do is only focus on our own growth and development, our own health, and nothing else. But then again, we should, being responsible humans, responsible beings, we should not only focus on our own health but also health of the environment and also animals and plants. Then strictly regulate high-risk wildlife markets, because when we know that many exotic animals who are very vulnerable or critically endangered or endangered for that matter, so their illicit trade should definitely be curbed with high regulations. Then fourth, for India, critically enforce the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and the Biological Diversity Act 2002, and thus we already have these legislations, but they should only be implemented more staunchly. Then focus on mass biodiversity literacy and ecosystem integrity, and that is very important that we tell the people how much is it important for each one of us to focus on enhancing and enriching the biodiversity. So with this, we move towards the last article discussion for the day, which is the new education policy. So let's see that why is it in news. Recently, the Union Cabinet of India approved the new education policy. This is really important because education is a very important part of our society, and any development in this should be noted. So this is the entire thing which talks about the school education, higher education and learning plan. So wherein in the case of higher education, it says that new umbrella regulator for all higher education except medical and legal courses will be there. Then flexible, holistic or multidisciplinary undergraduate degrees or the UG degrees for 3 to 4 years duration, 1 to 2 years PG programs, and no MPhil. So various other provisions are being there. So all we need to know is that the very idea of bringing these changes is that the world's top 10 universities, which definitely we do not really rank anywhere in the top 10 universities till date, and those who are will be facilitated to operate in the country through a new law. So basically this would actually help that our Indian educational system and culture to attract these top 10 universities or top 100 universities of the world to come and may organize their setups on the Indian land. But then again, this has been criticized as to this would increase the cost of education, definitely, because when these are the top 100 universities of the world, so it is very much easy to understand that the education and the cost of education here also would not be very feasible. And then it would put out of reach of a large section of the populations. And also what we are doing is that we should first focus on enhancing the quality of education in our domestic institutions first, so that at least we are able to put them into at least top 100 to other rankings. But instead of that, though it is also being done, it is being done in some other way, but not very effectively. What we are doing is we are inviting a huge competition from outside world to our domestic educational institutions, which would not only put them down but also raise the cost of education in India, and that is why it should be done with quite much of attention. Then let's see that what do we have for news in flash today. So Turkey approves a new social media law. The law seeks to make foreign social media sites more accountable by requiring them to appoint a local representative to address authorities' concern. So basically, Turkey has approved a new social media law, and this will actually give more of access to the Turkey government in order to regulate the shares or the post or any information that is being shared on the social media, and it would make these sites more accountable, as they will be required to appoint a local representative to address the authorities' concern. So if the authorities would have any concern, so these local representatives of these particular social media apps or social media platforms, they will be answerable to them, and so that now with this, Turkey will be able to regulate the internet even more in its own domain. So this was all for the day. We hope it was an informative session for you. Do write down the answer in the comment section below, and do visit the official page of the judiciary test prep course that we have at LawSikho. Thank you so much.